Hey everybody, welcome to Bright Earth Yoga. My name is Hannah, and today's class is a bum-friendly class for your hips. So if you are like me, then you may be suffering from super achy hips. This isn't for injury, it's just for kind of relief of soreness in the body. And today, the props that you may want to have, they're optional, so don't freak out if you don't have them, are a block or two and a blanket, maybe a couple of blankets or a pillow, and those are for pigeon pose and double pigeon pose. Will also be flowing a little bit, and blocks might help you create a little space in your body. So pause the video, get your comfy clothes on. I let my toddler dress me today, so I look super fancy, and unroll your mat. We'll practice together. Hey guys, let's get started. I have a couple of blocks. Again, these are optional, and I'm gonna set those up at the top of my mat and get them out of my way. I have a blanket for later, and I'm gonna do the same with that. Set that off to the side somewhere. All right, and we're gonna get started in tabletop. If you do have that blanket and you would like a little support and cushion here, you can pad the knees. If you have a couple of blocks and you have wrist issues, here's a neat way you can use those, is by putting them on the highest height. And nice sturdy cork blocks are the best for this. And then you can just come down onto your forearms, on your elbows, and just leave your wrists out of it entirely. Another option for wrists is coming onto fists. Putting padding underneath the wrist here, underneath the lower half of the palm, or walking the hands just a wee bit forward. All right, so we'll get started in tabletop, stacking wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. And then immediately we're gonna go right into it by connecting breath and movement in cats and cows. And you can feel free to add in extra movements in your cats and cows. So I really enjoy, especially at the beginning of a class, when I move through cats and cows and I'm breathing through all of these motions, just adding in a little bit of fluidity, moving my hips side to side. I actually tend to have sore hips when I am not pregnant, so when I am pregnant, it's extra tough. So if you're newer to the practice and you're like, what is she doing? Cats and cows? What is that? What you can practice here is dropping the belly, lifting through this heart space here. As you inhale, take a deep breath in, and exhale, opposite motion, round the spine, let the head drop. One breath per movement. Inhaling, this is cow pose as we drop the belly. And exhaling, this is cat pose, like a picture, like a Halloween cat with his back arched. And this is where we breathe out. In yoga, we want to unify the breath and the body. All right, so stay connected to your breath. We're breathing deeply in and out the nose. And listen to the sound of your breath. I'm going to add in a little wrist stretch here right now, just because that will feel nice for me. So I will flip my palms around. It's very intense, but it feels good. My fingers are pointing back at my knees now. Good. And flip it back around. And then we're going to add in some hip circles. So I'm moving in a clockwise motion. We'll switch in just a moment. Really try to connect to your fluidity, a sense of ease, and just finding some warmth and looseness in the body here. And if you need to stop at some point and kind of work your way into one hip or the other, you can feel free to do that. Oh, this is one of my favorite things, you guys. All right, now switch your circles and we'll move in the opposite direction. Now let's just pause in one side, just swinging the hip over to maybe the right or the left, whichever side you happen to be on, and then the other side, stretching through the outer hip. Good. All right, let's come off the wrist for just a second. We'll stretch the toes. Why not? So you can tuck the toes under as you walk the hands back. You can circle out the wrist while you're stretching the feet. That can be really intense. So if you need to come off of the toes a little bit, that's fine. Decrease the intensity of that. Whew. All right, and then back to tabletop. We're going to move through spinal balance here. I want you to lift your right leg out behind you and try to find this action of drawing the belly up towards the spine. Finding lots of strength and stability. And if you feel stable here, you can lift your left arm out and ahead of you, bicep by ear. And keep breathing, so don't hold your breath. We're still breathing deep breaths in and out the nose. Good, now we're just going to switch sides here. So lift your left leg. Draw the belly button up to the spine, which is when you're this big, as big as I am, 31 weeks. It's more of a feeling. You can't really see much happening. It's very subtle. And you can lift your right arm out in front if you feel stable, bicep by ear. Keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. Good. All right, set everything back down, and we're going to pop the hips up into downward facing dog. So walk the hands a bit forward here. Tuck the toes. All right, and when you're ready, slowly send the hips up and back. Whoa, first downward facing dog of the day. Hello, shoulders. Oh, hello, hamstrings, and hello, calves. And in your dog, instead of finding stillness, we're going to pedal out the feet. One at a time. Moving side to side and continuing to stay connected to the breath. Good. All right, now let's come up onto the toes. So inhale as you lift up onto the toes, and exhale, send the heels down to the left corner of the mat, the left back corner of the mat. Good. You can bend into that left knee if that feels nice. And then on your next breath in, come up onto the toes, back through center, and swivel the heels down over towards the right back corner of the mat. Maybe bending a little bit in your right knee this time. Good. Come up onto the toes, back to center, and pedal it out a little bit more. And in your downward facing dog, you can have a bit of a wider stance than you usually do if that helps you find space around your belly, depending on, how far into your pregnancy you are. Good. Now let's lift the left leg up and just drop the heel down towards the glute, opening up through the front of that hip. And be careful doing this because, your round ligaments may be acting up. Sometimes when I do this, it's like, no way. So just be gentle and mindful of your body. Good. All right, let's move to the other side here. So lift the right leg up and open up through the hip, dropping heel down towards glute.
and set that foot back down. Let's take a nice slow walk up to the top of the mat. I'm going to have my feet really wide for this and go really slowly, just putting one foot in front of the other, slowly walking up to the top of the mat. Good. And now that you're here, I'm gonna keep my feet nice and wide so the blades of my feet are right at the edges of the mat. And I'm gonna bend first knee, one knee, and then the other. And then inhale to halfway lift. Knees can stay bent. And exhale, forward fold. Knees are super bent here. Inhale to reach all the way up as you stand. And exhale. We are standing with the arms by the side, Tadasana. Pause here. Just resting in this moment. Dropping the shoulders down away from the ears. All right, and on your next breath in, reach up. Exhale, bend the knees to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, finding a flat back position. And exhale to fold. Inhale, reach the arms up as you stand. And on your exhale, we're going to go straight back down, bend the knees to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. You can keep the knees bent through all of this. Inhale, reach the arms up as you stand. And exhale, going straight back down. I'm bending my knees to create space so that my hamstrings get a nice little stretch there. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. And exhale, come back to standing. When you bend your knees in your forward folds, by the way, it also protects your ligaments, just by the way. So you're not tugging on your ligaments and you're actually getting into muscle. All right, we're going to move through a Sun A variation. Here we go. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back position. And exhale, palm the mat, step it back to plank pose. Inhaling here, we're holding. And exhale, downward facing dog. On your inhale, step it forward and halfway lift, finding a flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, stand up. And exhale, let's do it again right away. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, palm the mat and step back to plank. Inhale. And on your exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step it back up to the top of the mat and halfway lift. And exhale to forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up as you stand. And exhale, Tadasana. Good. Let's just take another vinyasa to make it back to downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the arms up. Maybe a slight back bend at the top if that feels nice. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, palm the mat, plank pose. Inhale here. And exhale, step it back, or hips go back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up behind you. You can open that hip if that feels nice. Maybe circle the knee, circling out the hip in one direction and then the other. All right, so take another deep breath in here as you reach the leg up. And on your exhale, step it forward for low lunge. Drop the back knee back down to the mat. Untuck the toes. Good, so here we are. This is a grounded low lunge. And if you're like me, this looks more like lizard pose now because I just have so much going on here. I really have to have my hands to the inside of my front leg. And we're not going to hold here, but we're going to flow to half splits. So if you have a couple of blocks, you can use them to create a little space in your body like so.
If you don't need them, you can just pass, set those aside. We're going to connect to the breath though. So inhale, let the heart space reach forward as the hip, this front of the right hip melts down towards the mat. And on your exhale,
shift back, half splits. I'm going to widen my stance a little, make a little adjustment.
Inhale, shift forward, heart space open, right hip melts downwards. And exhale, shift back. Inhale, shift forward. And as you exhale, we shift back. And when we do shift back in a half splits, you don't have to straighten that leg all the way. It can stay bent, same as in your forward folds. And keep moving with the pace of your own breath, your own unique breath.
All right, one more round here. Breathing in and breathing out. And then shift forward as you breathe in. I'm going to adjust my stance once more
so that I am in lizard pose here. So my hands are to the inside of my feet. To create a little space, your hands can rest on a block. And just pause here in lizard pose for just a moment. Imagine the front space of that right hip is melting down towards the earth as you find release in the front of the hip and perhaps in the low back as well. Good. I'm going to take a little bit of a twist here in lizard pose. I'm going to put my left hand to the inside of my left thigh and roll onto the outer blade of the foot as I twist towards the leg. So as I press the hip open here, I'm finding a little bit of space by letting that leg kind of drift out to the side, just pressing it, peeling it open. Good, and come back to center. Moving into pigeon pose. This is something that's super relieving for me, but it's challenging to find your own space, special space in it. I'm going to heel toe my foot over towards the right edge of the mat and just slide down onto the outer side of that leg here. Now, here's where your blanket can come in. You can take this blanket, shake your leaves off like me, and you can place it underneath that front leg, all the way from knee to hip. There. Or you can have it just underneath your seat. And this can be 2 blankets, a pillow, 2 pillows, whatever you need to make yourself comfortable. I'm just going to set mine aside because this feels good like this. All right, so you are welcome, of course, to find a fold in your pigeon. If you want to fold down, I don't have a super lot of space in my body right now, but one way to create some more is by just resting on a block here. You can even rest your head on it if you can get down that low. And breathe into the space of your hip there as you surrender to the support of gravity. Shoulders are softening down away from the ears. And the jaw and the muscles around the mouth are relaxed. Soften the muscles around the eyes and the space between the eyebrows. Getting a little too relaxed here. And soften the forehead. All right, so I'm going to set my block aside. Good.
And to come out of this, I'm just going to plant my palms on the mat and slide that left leg back. Good. And if it feels nice, you can always circle the hip, just kind of move, find a little bit of movement, getting blood flowing in the leg again, the left leg. And then we're going to switch to the other side. So tuck the toes, walk the hands forward, and pop the hips up into downward facing dog. We'll just pause here for a second, reconnecting to the breath, and allowing the mind to come back to the mat if it's wandered off. Find those nice deep breaths in and out the nose, allowing the sound of the breath to anchor your thoughts. All right, so on an inhale, lift the right leg up. Maybe open through the hip, dropping heel down to glute. You can circle out the hip first one way and then another if it feels good. Good. And then on an inhale, straighten the leg as you lift it. And exhale, step it forward, finding your version of a low lunge. Mine with a really wide stance here. All right, so grab your blocks if you want them to create a little space. And we're just going to flow here with the breath. So inhale, send the heart forward. Feel the left hip melting down towards the earth. And exhale, shift the hips back to half splits. Inhale, shift forward. Ooh, I keep having to adjust my stance here. That's normal. And exhale, half splits. No, really, it is. Making these little adjustments in a yoga class, at home or in studio, don't mean that you don't know what you're doing. It means that you do. It means you're paying attention to what your body is asking of you, and that you are adjusting these asanas to meet your own special anatomical needs. We are all anatomically unique, especially in the hips, you guys. It took me forever to finally admit that to myself, that my hips are special. They don't do things that other people's hips do, but they do some other things pretty well. And I can be grateful for that and accepting of my hips and their unique special qualities. All right, keep breathing and stay connected to your breath, that sound that anchors your mind. Keep flowing. We'll move through one more round here, breathing in and breathing out. And shifting forward, we'll pause in lizard pose. Again, you can support yourself, create a little more space with blocks here. Breathing into the hips here. Letting the left hip melt down towards the earth. And I'll take this moment to remind you that the sides of your body are really different. So your experience on the first side in these poses may be different from the next one. All right, so I'm going to twist now. So I'm going to bring my right hand to the inside of my right thigh here and peel onto the outer blade of my foot as I open up through the hip. And come back to center, moving into pigeon pose. Heel toe the foot over to the left side of the mat. And take your time getting set up because you really want to find a place that is comfortable in pigeon pose, because it can be really intense and really awful if you settle into a place that's not right for your body. So take advantage of those props if you have them. Good. And I'm going to set myself up here with a block as I lean forward just a little bit in my pigeon.
Imagine the breath moving through the hips here as you find softness and ease in the body, melting shoulders down away from ears, relaxing the muscles around the mouth and the jaw. The face is soft. Relax the muscles around the eyes, between the eyebrows and the forehead. Feel the way the breath moves the body, and with every exhale, imagine yourself melting a little bit more into the mat. Good. Now I'm going to set my block aside. And then palms come down to the mat. I'm going to just slide that leg back. You can lift the leg, work it out a little bit, get that blood flowing again. Good. And then move back to downward facing dog. Good. All right, let's step it up to the top of the mat. So take a deep breath in as you step up and halfway lift, flat back, and exhale, forward fold. Legs are wide here. Inhale, reach up as you stand, and exhale, we're going straight back down. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, palms on the mat, step it back to plank pose. Take a deep breath in, and exhale, downward facing dog. All right, lift the left leg up as you inhale, and exhale, step the foot forward for warrior one. All right, let's plant the back foot and inhale, lift the arms up. If you're newer to the practice and you're like, warrior, what? My back toes are pointing off kind of at an angle. The angle will be different depending on your body. My front toes are pointing forward. My knee is nice and bent here. My pelvis is turning towards the front of my mat so that my hip points are shining forward like headlights. And because of my baby bump here, my legs are really wide. My stance is super wide. The blade of my foot here is against the edge of my mat, and my toes are brushing up against the edge of my mat on that side as well. Good. When you're stable, lift the arms. Feel this nice opening sensation in the front of the right hip. Good. If you'd like, if you feel really stable, you can open up through the heart space as well. Interlacing fingers behind the back and opening the heart, or you can keep the elbows bent and just rest the hands on the sacrum as you draw elbows in towards each other. All right, we're going to release that and then bring the palms down onto the mat. I'm going to heel toe my front foot more towards the center of the mat as I prepare for standing splits. So standing on my left leg, lift the right leg up. You don't have to actually be in splits here. This is really intense for the hips and hamstrings. But my hands are firmly planted on the mat, helping me find stability in this pose. Good. We won't be here for too long because it's super intense. So we're going to bring the legs down. We're going to all right, pay attention here. We're going to sit down. So bring that right leg down. My shin is on the mat. And I'm just going to come down to a nice little cross-legged seat here, which you may know as the pose Gomukhasana, Gomukha legs, cow legs. And this is actually super uncomfortable for me. So this is an option, but if you're further along in your pregnancy, it may be more accessible to move into a double pigeon here. So I've got my ankles stacked over my knees. My knee is super high up off the mat, so I'm going to wedge a little block in there just to provide some support. And you can use your props to send signals to your brain, hey, this pose is okay. You know, we are safe here. And that can actually really help your body relax into the pose. And remember that blocks have 3 levels. You can turn the block, make it a little lower. Keep breathing in and out the nose. Sitting up nice and tall. If you have the space, you can intensify the pose by walking the hands forward. Nice little stretch for the outer hips. Good. All right, just another couple of breaths here. Breathing into the hips. And I'm going to set my block aside and then unwind my feet and send them back, downward facing dog. Good. Reconnect to your breath. Draw your mind back to your mat. And on your next inhale, lift the right leg up this time. And exhale, step it forward. Warrior 1. Set up your feet, plant your back foot. And on your inhale, lift your arms. Virabhadrasana 1 for those of you who are Sanskrit curious. Good. My stance is super wide. Remember, you want to find a lot of space for your hips in this pose, being protective of the sacrum, especially during pregnancy. Good. And then if you are feeling nice and stable and want to find some opening in the heart space, you can interlace fingers behind the low back. Really lift and open through the heart. Keep breathing, don't hold your breath. And release that. We're going to bring the hands back down to the mat. Heel toe that front foot more towards the center of the mat and hop that back leg up for standing splits. Again, this is super intense. We won't be here for a super long time. My hands are firmly planted on the mat, helping me find stability. All right, let's talk you through this transition again. We're going to draw that leg down and then come to a little cross-legged seat. Good. So you can stay here in Gomukhasana if you have space with Mukha legs, or you can stack heels or ankles over knees for double pigeon. If your knee is floating, it's nice to have a little bit of support. This is definitely where I remember the sides of my body are different, not symmetrical. This hip definitely feels different from the first one. Sitting up nice and tall, the head resting easily at the top of the spine. And if you want to intensify, just crawl the hands forward a little bit. Sending the breath to the hips, relaxing the jaw. And let your mouth go slack. No one's watching. It's just you and me here. Just a couple more breaths here. Don't
clench the jaw. Everything is soft and melting. Alright, now I'm going to set my block aside. Swing the feet around and slide it back up into downward facing dog. Good. Reconnect to your breath. Allow your mind and your thoughts to come back to your mat if they have been wandering away. On your next breath in, we're going to step it forward and inhale to find a flat back position, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, stand up, reach up. And exhale, straight back down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, stand all the way back up, and exhale, bring hands to heart center. And just pause here with hands at heart. We're going to end with a couple of standing balances. So if you want to move to a place where you have a wall or a chair or a table beside you, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to step back just a little bit on my mat. And first we will stand on the right leg for a big toe hold. So for you, you can plant your hands on your hips and find a little stability that way. That might look like this. That's a great place to be. If you want to find a little more, you can reach down and peace fingers wrap around your big toe. You can stop there or straighten the leg. Doesn't have to be all the way straight. And to make a little more space for your belly, it can be nice to move the leg out to the side. Whew. This is my weak side. So if you're wobbling like me, activate the glute in the standing leg and see if that helps you find a little more stability. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Whew. There we go. Good. And then I'm going to move into a balancing standing pigeon pose. Again, this is if you have to stop and move into it, that's perfectly fine. So I'm creating a figure 4 shape, crossing my ankle over my thigh as I bend down, squat down into this pose. Hands can press together at the heart center. And release that. All right, we're going to do that on the other side. Let's shake out that right leg. And this time standing on the left leg. Hands can come to hips as you work on finding stability. Then you can reach down. These are all just options. So take it as far as your body wants to go and not further. Yeah, this is definitely my strong side. We're all like that. And then move from there into your figure 4 shape. Hands come to prayer. And let's release that. Coming back to Tadasana. All right, let's shake out the other standing leg, the left leg this time. And find stillness in Tadasana. We're going to end here with a couple of cleansing breaths. So find a deep breath in through your nose. Open the mouth and exhale it out. Again, deep inhale through the nose. Open the mouth and exhale it out. Last time, deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth and let it all go. Finding release. Melt those shoulders down away from the ears.
Soften the jaw and let the mouth go slack. Relax the eyes. Job well done. It was an honor having you in class today, and I hope to see you next time on the mats. Namaste.